Hi, I'm Steven, and pretty soon I will graduate from high school. Many people see this event as, well, maybe not as the beginning of adult life, but something like saying goodbye to childhood. Honestly, I don't think that even the most amazing prom could turn a boy into a man. You can choose to behave like a kid in any situation. Or not. All my life, I've had a living example of a real man. It's my father. He brought me up alone, and it was not easy. He's tough and a pretty closed-off person, but he has one real passion. His Pontiac GTO Judge, a 1969 model which he polishes often and cherishes. Just so you understand, to even hold the keys to this car would be considered an achievement. And my father catches criminals for a living. He's a policeman. Anyway, by now you've probably figured out that it's not always easy to get along with my old man. And this is just the prologue. My story began when I met her. She was as beautiful as a dream and almost as unattainable. Caroline was 5 years older than me. I always had it easy with girls, but with Caroline, I felt like a little boy in short pants when I was supposed to be behaving like a grown-up man. Anyway, my father had left for 3 days. He had a training session in Georgia. So with my head full of a mixture of confidence and butterflies, I asked Caroline out. And she unexpectedly said yes. If she were my classmate, I would have invited her to the movies, put on a pair of jeans and a t-shirt with some funny print, and would have never worried about what to talk about. But I thought that all that was not good enough for Caroline. So, I ironed a shirt and a pair of trousers, reserved a table at a restaurant, and decided that I'd let her do the talking, staying silent and mysterious, like some Clint Eastwood character. All that was fine, but my shabby cornflower blue Ford was totally tarnishing my look, as opposed to my father's Judge, and the keys were there, on the table in the hallway. I spent quite a lot. Well, I spent a lot of money on our dinner, and thankfully, I did not have to come up with topics for conversation. Caroline was chewing and talking in non-stop mode. Also, she did not understand a thing about cars. She called this rare beauty of a Pontiac a nice old geezer, but seemed impressed that it had only 2 doors. What can I say about my date with Caroline? I was in heaven. Please, do not judge me too harshly. I was totally in love. And so, up in the clouds, I made the stupidest mistake of an inexperienced driver. I crashed the car right near my house. My father's precious Pontiac. I only got a couple of bruises, and for the first minute after the crash, I managed to run about 20 circles around the car, and to regret about 100 times that I was still alive, and finally, to call my friend Peter, who lived nearby. One time. Together, we pushed the poor Pontiac into the garage so that the neighbors wouldn't see her and started to think what to do next. The smartest idea was to fake that somebody had hijacked the car and crashed it. If only my father was not a policeman. Pete generated one story after another about helping a woman that was giving birth, an undercover governmental agent, some friendly aliens that were in trouble. All the scenarios included the Pontiac. I mean, I was in shock, but it wasn't bad enough for me to approve this nonsense. But Pete kept repeating over and over that my father would kill me. He was always afraid of my old man. And finally, I was convinced that even if he didn't kill me, he would find a way to put me in jail. I can't remember who said first that I had to run away. But in a couple of minutes, I was packing my things and counting how much money I had after I'd spent almost all of it at the restaurant. Pete was giving me the address of his internet friend in California, whose folks are so cool that they'll let you live with them, no problem, he said. How I reached the bus station was all a blur. Pete wasn't with me. He went home in order to not raise any suspicions. I think that for him, all this was some kind of a cool adventure, like in the movies. And me too. I felt like some character that had gotten into big trouble. But as time passed, the adrenaline in my blood returned to a normal level, and I felt tired. The chaos in my head had passed, leaving only emptiness. It was at late night, and I was waiting for a bus at a deserted bus station. I remember how badly the Pontiac was damaged when my father bought it, and how much pleasure he took in repairing it, and how I had helped him. I was about 12 years old at that time. And then, sinking into my memories deeper and deeper, I remembered that I had already run away once. I was a kid when my mother died, and I decided that it happened because of me. Just like many other kids in this situation. I remember that I ran away and walked for a long, long time, and then hid among some crates where I finally burst into tears and cried myself to fall asleep. I do not know how my father found me, with dogs or helicopters, but when I woke up, he was carrying me home in silence, holding me very tightly, so tight in fact, that it almost hurt. But I held him too, and I did not want to run away anymore. And now I raised my head, looked around, and realized how stupid this all was. The bus, the runaway, the cool folks from California. I got home in the morning. I went into the garage and figured out that I had overestimated the damage done to the car when I was frightened and in shock. And then I texted my father. I crashed your Pontiac and wanted to run away to California, but then thought that together we could repair her faster. I wish I could tell you that my father was not mad at me, but that would be a lie. Of course, I got what I deserved. But nonetheless, we repaired our Pontiac GTO Judge pretty easily with our 4 hands. Oh, yes, and Caroline. I did not see her again. All of my feelings just disappeared. But you know, I am grateful to her. I wanted to look more mature and masculine driving a cool car. And as a result, I realized that acting like a man is something that is very different and much more difficult to do. Have you ever had to confess to doing something that you knew you'd get in trouble for? Or maybe you acted foolishly because of a girl? Subscribe to the channel and tell your stories here.